my boyfriend of 3 years, who had never once given me flowers, chose a bouquet of white roses for my best friend on May 20th. I had bought flowers and was waiting to pick him up from work, only to see him hand his bouquet and a gift to my best friend. When I tearfully confronted him, he just glanced at me coolly. I was just thanking her for her help. Don't make a big deal out of nothing. Later, he planted a mountain of roses for me and came back with red-rimmed eyes, begging me to take him back. I could only show him the bridal bouquet in my hands. I'm sorry, you're too late. It rained all day on May 20th. First thing in the morning, I sent a message to Caleb, asking if he wanted to celebrate together. After a long time, he finally replied, "What holiday?" Even through the screen, I could picture him with a slight frown, a look of casual annoyance on his face. So, while squashed in an elevator with a piece of bread in my mouth, I painstakingly typed out an explanation. 520. It sounds like, I love you. It's like Valentine's Day. That counts as Valentine's Day. I knew he responded better to a soft touch, so I put on a cute voice. I just want to see you. With my internship and your contract negotiations, we haven't seen each other in a week. Sure enough, Caleb relented. Fine. I pushed my luck. Can you say you love me? As I expected, he said nothing, acting as if he hadn't seen the message at all, and simply replied, "Go to work." We had known each other for 9 years and been together for 3, and he had never said he loved me. The day I confessed to him, he just placed his baseball cap on my head and said, "Fine. Anyway, besides you, I can't imagine being with anyone else." I knew his stubborn nature, so I translated that in my head too. Caleb likes and only likes Ivy, and I was happy all night around him. I seemed to have a talent for this kind of self-reassurance. Life after we started dating didn't change much. I was still the one chasing after him. He was very busy, having started his own studio in his sophomore year. I knew he was trying to prove something to his father, so I just quietly supported him. It was around that time that I met my best friend, Stella. Her mother's company was in the same office building as Caleb's. I was buying a latte in the cafe downstairs when I saw her arguing with a clingy ex-boyfriend. I stepped in to help her, and from that day on, I had my best friend for the rest of college. That evening, Caleb walked with me to take Stella home. It wasn't far, just a quiet villa complex in the city center. On the way back, he was silent. I tried to tease him, but he wouldn't say a word, and I started to feel a little down. "Why are you ignoring me? Did I waste your time?" "Fine. I don't want you anymore either." His reaction was huge. He spun around, strode over to me, and kissed me fiercely. It was so forceful that my lip was split. A sharp, stinging pain. "It hurts." He let go of my lips, but his hand still gripped my shoulders tightly. "Don't say you don't want me, Ivy. Never say that." He was so tense his eyes were red. I could never resist him like this. I pressed my face against his and nuzzled him gently. "I was just kidding. I'll never leave you." How sincere and devout I was when I said that. I truly believed that I loved him so much, I would never leave him. From the moment I saw him at 14, sitting by the apartment entrance covered in blood, our fates were irrevocably intertwined. Under the warm yellow glow of the streetlights, Caleb held me for a long time. He suddenly looked at his watch. "The last subway has stopped running." Then, "Let's get a room tonight." It took all my courage to say that, my throat dry with nervousness, but Caleb took me to a nearby hotel and said casually, 2 rooms. I couldn't quite describe how I felt in that moment. A little disappointed, but also a little relieved. Caleb, Stella, and I were all students at the same university. After we found out, we made a point to meet in the cafeteria. As she sat down with her tray, Stella started laughing. "I haven't eaten in the cafeteria all semester. The food really isn't for me." I felt a little awkward. "Then why don't we go somewhere else, outside of school?" "Caleb, what do you think?" Before she could answer, his icy gaze had already shifted to her. "No need. She's not a pampered little princess. She can handle it." Stella just smiled. Later, after Caleb left, she leaned in and whispered to me, "Ivy, your boyfriend seems to have a bit of a temper, doesn't he? He takes a while to warm up, and he had a lot to deal with at the company today before coming back for class, so he's in a bad mood." "It's not about you. I was just asking." "Look at you." Rushing to explain for him, she put her arm around my shoulder, her gaze thoughtfully following the direction Caleb had gone. I sensed that they didn't seem to like each other. Caleb would warn me, "Stay away from that spoiled little princess. She's not from our world." And Stella, while we were shopping, would casually mention, "Ivy, I really don't think your boyfriend is good enough for you. He's so hard to get along with." I was caught in the middle, trying to appease both sides. When Caleb got angry, he would ignore me for days, not even replying to my messages. I would be miserable, unable to concentrate in class. When the professor called on me, I would just stand there, frozen. Just as the professor was about to dock my grade, my phone lit up. It was a message from Caleb. Choose C, choose C, I said. The professor's expression softened, and he told me to sit down and pay attention. The moment I sat down, I started looking around. My phone lit up again. Stop looking for me. Pay attention to the lecture. You're in class. Where are you sitting? You're finally talking to me. Caleb, you're not mad anymore, are you? I sent a flurry of messages, and then a deep, familiar voice came from behind me, so noisy. I whipped my head around to see him sitting right behind me, his baseball cap pulled down low. My mood instantly lifted. I grinned brightly, and he said with disgust, "You look so silly when you smile. Caleb, let's have lunch together." "Fine." He paused. "Just the two of us. Don't bring that princess." Yes. At first, they couldn't stand each other. When did that change? I think it was during our junior year, when the school arranged for internships. I suddenly became very busy, with no time for dates. Stella started interning at her mother's company, and Caleb's studio was taking off. They saw each other almost every day. At first, I didn't think anything of it. Stella would even whisper to me conspiratorially, "Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on him for you. See if he's flirting with any of the girls at his studio." I laughed. "You've known him for 2 years. Why do you still dislike him so much?" "Relax. We've known each other for years. He'll never fall for anyone else but me." In early April, Caleb mentioned he had landed a huge contract, but it was too big for his studio to handle alone. He was looking for a partner. I chewed on my ice cream spoon. "Have you found anyone?" Rainbow Corp. That was Stella's mother's company. They were much larger and could easily handle the contract on their own. Why would they partner with Caleb? Even so, I said, "Well, try the official channels first. I'll ask Stella if she can help." The air went strangely still for a moment. I looked up, confused. A dark look flashed in his eyes. "No need, I'll go to her myself." As we were leaving after dinner, the shopping street was bustling. A child holding roses tried to push them into my arms, saying to Caleb, "Mister, buy a flower for your girlfriend." Caleb's gaze didn't waver. He just kept walking, not buying. I was surrounded by the children, awkwardly falling behind. I had to pull out some change from my wallet. All right. The mister is shy. I'll buy your flowers and give them to him." The children took the money and scattered. I ran to catch up with Caleb, holding the roses. "A flower for you." He glanced at it. "What's the use of this?" "It's pretty. It symbolizes love." "So what's the use?" He had never given me flowers. I figured it was because he thought they were useless and didn't understand the secret, romantic desires of a girl's heart. But what about when he gave them to Stella? On May 20th, I rushed over after work, just in time to see him hand a bouquet and a gift to Stella. She took them with a sweet smile. "It was nothing. You didn't have to thank me so lavishly." Caleb's voice was gentle. "You deserve it." He had almost never spoken to me in that tone. A few feet away, I stood there, dumbfounded, holding my own flowers. The puddle on the ground reflected my messy hair, tangled from when someone had grabbed onto the subway handrail. The subway had been so crowded. I had carefully protected the red roses in my arms, but they were still crushed, some petals lost. But the white roses in Stella's arms were still dewy, every blossom in full bloom. A scooter horn blared behind me. I jumped back, and a splash of muddy water hit my skirt. I looked up, humiliated, and met their gazes. Seeing me, Caleb's expression didn't even change. He just asked coolly, "Why are you off work so early?" Stella stood beside him, holding the flowers, her smile unwavering. "Ivy, you're here too." My eyes and heart ached. I clutched my skirt, taking several deep breaths before I could force a smile. "What are you two doing together?" "I wasn't working late today." As I was leaving, Caleb called and said he had something for me. Stella waved the flowers and the gift bag. "Since you're here, I'll get going. It was a pleasure working with you." Caleb, who usually scowled at the sight of her, actually raised an eyebrow and smiled. Of course. After she drove off, I remained standing there. He walked over and glanced at my still, dripping skirt. "You're a mess. Let's go home and change." To make it easier for him to work, we had been renting an apartment together since junior year. I heard him but didn't move. His gaze fell on the roses in my arms and paused for a second. "Let me hold those for you while you fix your skirt." He handed me a pack of tissues. The battered roses were taken from me and held carelessly in his hand, shedding more petals onto the ground. The tissue packet was pink and smelled faintly of a perfume that wasn't his usual brand, but was identical to Stella's. My hand started to shake. I took a deep breath. Have you been seeing Stella a lot lately? Why did you give her flowers? The deal with her company. She was a huge help. And since she's in charge of it on their end, I was just thanking her. He suddenly smirked. Weren't you always worried that we didn't get along? You don't have to worry anymore. I stood there, staring at him. We had known each other for almost 10 years. We had been there for each other through the darkest times. His face was so familiar to me, but in that moment, he felt like a complete stranger. I first met him when I was 14. He had just moved in downstairs. I was sneaking out for a late night snack when I saw him sitting by the entrance, covered in blood. When he heard me, he looked over, his eyes dark and fierce, yet with a hint of vulnerability, like a wolf cub in the forest. And just like that, I fell for him. I offered him half of the beef pie I had just bought. He just looked down, as if he didn't see it. I didn't give up. I just stood there, holding it out. After a long standoff, he finally took it. Over time, I learned about his family, how his father had been secretly transferring assets for years, driving his mother insane before filing for divorce, how his mother would beat him whenever she drank, sometimes even with a knife. He told me all this with a light tone, even a smile on his lips. My heart ached for him, but I didn't know what to say. I could only gently stroke his hair, like petting a cat. You have me now, I had said softly. Don't be afraid, I'll protect you. In high school, he became even more popular. He was cold to everyone else, but he always talked to me. I was so happy, thinking it meant I was special to him. But even with me, he always seemed distant. Not like now, with that sharp, bright smile that seemed to signal the beginning of something new. I was silent all the way home. After he parked the car, I finally found my voice. Caleb, I want a bouquet of flowers. He turned to look at me. Oh, then you can have this one. He handed me the battered bouquet I had bought myself. I didn't take it. I sniffled and looked at him seriously. I don't want this one. I want you to buy one for me. Why are you making a fuss now? He frowned, as if I were being difficult. You already bought one. Why should I buy another? All the unspoken emotions of the day gathered in that moment, like sharp arrows, and pierced my heart. Because today is 520. It's Valentine's Day. You gave Stella a bouquet of roses. Why can't you give one to me? I'm your girlfriend. The words burst out of me, and with the first word, the tears followed. Ivy, can you not be so dramatic? His face turned cold, his gaze sweeping over me. It was purely to thank her for her help. You're making a big deal out of nothing. Making a big deal out of nothing. I stared at him in disbelief. You give another woman flowers on Valentine's Day, and I'm the one making a big deal. Valentine's Day. It's just a marketing gimmick. When did it become a real holiday? He sneered. Stella is your best friend. You were so anxious when we didn't get along. Now that we do, you're not happy. Ivy, aren't you a hypocrite? My heart trembled with pain. I opened my mouth, but my throat was filled with sobs, and I couldn't speak. I knew he could be cruel with his words. In high school, when I was bullied, he had found the girls and berated them until they cried, even getting into a fight. In my freshman year, when a male classmate was being passive-aggressive during the class officer elections, he had grabbed him by the collar and systematically refuted every point before saying, "Apologize to Ivy." That night, as he walked me back to my dorm, I was overjoyed. Caleb, you're so good with words. His tone was still cool. That was for you. That was for you. I never thought that one day his weapon would be aimed at me. I sat in the car, sobbing uncontrollably. He seemed to have lost his patience. He got out and looked down at me. Go home. I didn't answer, but I hoped he would comfort me, at least try to explain. If you don't want to go home, then just cry here until you're done. He closed the door. It was as if he had separated me, crying in the car, from him, standing outside with a cold expression, into two different worlds. In all the time we had been together, I had never really fought with him. I knew about his family, his dark and fragile nature. Even a joke could make him insecure, so even when I was in a bad mood, I would try to be cheerful in front of him. It didn't matter if he didn't say he loved me. It didn't matter if he didn't give me flowers. With him, my love was so easily satisfied. The sky grew completely dark, a clap of thunder, and it started to rain again. Amidst the growing patter of the rain, the car door opened. He was holding an umbrella, squatting down, looking at me quietly. It was my fault, he said. It's raining. Let's go home. And just like that, with a small act of submission, most of my hurt had already dissipated. After we got out of the car, I glanced to the right. perhaps because of the rain. The flower shop at the entrance of our complex was already closed. I still didn't get my bouquet of roses. The next day, Stella apologized to me. "I'm so sorry, Ivy. I've been so busy with the project. I completely forgot what day it was yesterday," she said. "I've ordered a huge bouquet of red roses for you. The flowers Caleb wouldn't give you. I will." Sure enough, a short while later, I got a call from a delivery service. Someone had ordered 99 red roses for me, and they were downstairs at my office. That evening, as I was struggling to get my keys out while holding the massive bouquet, the door suddenly opened from the inside. Through a gap in the flowers, I saw Stella's face. I froze. "Ivy, not working late today. You're early." She smiled and took the flowers from me, handing them to Caleb, who was standing beside her, and he took them. So naturally, summer had arrived. She was wearing a slip dress and shorts. He was also dressed lightly. A wave of humid heat rushed out of the room. I was stunned for a moment before I asked, "Why isn't the air conditioner on?" "I think it's broken. It won't turn on," Stella replied with a smile. I walked over, picked up the remote from the coffee table, and pressed a few buttons. When nothing happened, I bent down and found some new batteries in a drawer. "Oh, so it was just out of batteries," she said, as if it were a revelation. She kicked him playfully. "You can't even tell if a remote is out of batteries. It's your own apartment. I think Ivy has spoiled you." I stood there, silently watching them, until a sharp pain in my palm made me look down. I had been clenching my fist so tightly that the key had dug into my skin. Caleb explained, his tone even. "We had some work to finish up. Stella said she wanted to talk to you, so we brought it back here." I nodded. "Then you two work. I'll go make dinner." My heart was not calm. I just didn't know what to say. One was my friend, one was my boyfriend. When they used to dislike each other, I had so sincerely hoped they could get along. But now that they were, because of work, I felt uneasy. Maybe he was right. I was a hypocrite. I let my thoughts wander as I cooked, then called them to the table. As we sat down, my gaze fell on his face, and I paused. "Is it too hot?" I asked, looking at the small red mark on his lip. "Your lip is bleeding. Do you want some ointment?" "Caleb." He quickly wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, his voice suddenly cold. "It's nothing. I'll just have some water." After dinner, he went to do the dishes. I sat on the sofa with Stella for a while, then walked her downstairs. In the bright light of the elevator, the diamond necklace around her slender neck sparkled brilliantly. I looked at it for a few moments, and it seemed familiar. As we were leaving the building, I casually asked about it. She touched the pendant and smiled. "Yes, it's the one I reposted on social media, saying I loved it. Caleb bought it for me as a thank you for setting up the deal." I froze. "All right, Ivy, this is far enough. You should go home." "I have to go too." She walked away, her heels clicking, her graceful figure disappearing into the distance. The motion sensor light in the hallway went out, plunging me into darkness. I stood there, and for some reason, my mind went back 2 years. His studio was just starting to take off, and with his classes, he was incredibly busy. He had managed to find half a day to go on a date with me. We were in a mall, and I had tried on a crystal necklace. It wasn't expensive, just over $1,000, but I knew he was short on funds, so I pretended not to like it, finding all sorts of faults with it in the mirror. The sales assistant said, "If you want a better effect, you'll have to increase your budget." Before he could speak, I quickly said, "But I don't really like wearing necklaces anyway. They get tangled in my hair. Let's go look at something else." After we left the mall, he asked me, "Did you like it?" "Not that much." I grinned and linked my arm through his, looking up at him coquettishly. "The necklace I really want is super expensive. When you're successful, you can buy it for me when you propose." With finals approaching, I got busier and busier. I applied to put my internship on hold and moved back into the dorm. But Caleb's project couldn't be stopped. He was so busy he barely had time to reply to my messages. My chat history was full of my one-sided conversations, with an occasional 1 or 2-word reply from him. I never asked him about the necklace. I just felt that the distance between us was growing, silently and steadily, and I couldn't find a way to stop it. That afternoon, after my last exam, I packed my things and looked around the classroom, but he was already gone. I called him. It rang several times before he picked up. I took a deep breath. "Exams are finally over. Let's go see a movie tonight to celebrate." There was a pause on the other end, then his calm voice. "Not tonight. You should go home first. The first phase of the project is wrapping up. I have to go to the studio to finalize some details." I gripped my phone. "Is Stella with you?" "Yes. She didn't drive." I have to give her a ride." He hung up. I sat there, lost, until my roommate came over. "Are you staying in the dorm tonight?" "No." It wasn't dark yet when I got home. From the living room window, I could see the sky ablaze with fiery red clouds, a magnificent sight. When I had first come to see the apartment with him, it had been a similarly beautiful sunset. I had stood at the window, admiring it, and he had immediately sealed the deal with the agent. Even though the rent was several hundred more than other places in the same condition, I had always found these little details in our daily lives to reassure myself that even though he never said he loved me, I was incredibly important to him. But, I don't know when, but that delicate balance had been broken. Before the last of the clouds faded, I took a picture and sent it to him. Then, my finger, as if with a mind of its own, opened my social media. 10 minutes ago, Stella had posted, "Finally done with exams. Bought myself a little reward. Now for a fun summer of work." The picture was of her in front of a mirror at a Louis Vuitton store, and in the corner of the mirror, a familiar hand, holding her bag. I zoomed in disbelief, checking over and over. It was his hand. The watch on his wrist was the one I had bought him for his birthday last year. I started to shake uncontrollably. It took several tries before I could dial his number. He answered quickly. "Ivy, Caleb." I bit down hard on my hand. It took a long moment before I could speak, but my voice was choked with tears. "Can you come home right now?" He paused, then asked, "Are you crying?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. "Stay where you are. I'll be right there." When he returned, the room was dark. He turned on the light, and I squinted in the sudden brightness. "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice heavy with an unreadable emotion beneath the concern. I had so many questions for him. "Have you been following Stella's social media? So you knew which diamond necklace to buy her as a gift? Weren't you supposed to be at the company? How did you end up shopping together? In all this time we've barely seen each other. Have you missed me at all? Or have you completely forgotten about me?" But in that moment, I couldn't ask a single one. In the light, his handsome face seemed to have a double image. I couldn't quite make out his expression. I suddenly remembered 3 years ago, just 2 months after we started dating. I had taken him to a private cinema. We watched several romance movies, but I was too distracted to pay attention, trying to figure out how to bring it up, until he suddenly took my hand, leaned in, and looked into my eyes. "What are you thinking about?" I had blushed and whispered, "I want to kiss you." He had laughed softly. "Why didn't you just say so?" And then, a hot, invasive kiss had landed on my lips. Coming back to the present, I looked up at him and asked, very slowly, "Are you about to leave me?" "No," he answered quickly. "But you lied to me. You said you were working, but you were shopping with Stella." He was stunned, his face suddenly turning ugly. "I wasn't shopping with her. We were on our way back to the company, and she said her bag was broken and she needed a new one. After she bought it, we went straight to the office." He knelt down in front of me and held me. "It won't happen again, Ivy, I promise." Later, Stella called me specifically to say that she had just been passing by the mall and needed a bag, that I shouldn't overthink it. Her voice was full of sincerity. "You told me about your past with him, a 9-year history. No one can shake that, and I would never get in the middle of it." Caleb and I agreed that once his project was finished, we would go back to our hometown for a while, but not long after summer started, my period became irregular. After an online consultation, the doctor told me I might need further tests, and because of the anesthesia, I would need someone with me. After much hesitation, I asked him if he was free the next day. "There's a very important deadline at the studio," he said. "Can you reschedule? I'll go with you another day." "Okay," I replied after a moment's pause. But the specialist's appointment was hard to get, so I didn't cancel. I hired someone online to accompany me. When we met, I realized the girl I had hired was a student from my university. She kindly held my bag and waited with me outside, because it was a specialist. "It wasn't too crowded. You can sit here. I'll go get you some water," she said. I nodded, about to say thank you, when my gaze fell on something ahead, and I froze. The door to a consultation room a few feet away opened, and a man and a woman walked out. Behind them, a doctor pointed in another direction. "The abortion clinic is that way. You can go straight there after you've paid." "Okay, thank you, doctor." I opened my mouth, but the sound that came out felt distant, as if from another person. Caleb, who was supporting Stella, looked up and saw me. His face instantly went pale. The hospital corridor was bathed in a cold, white light. The smell of disinfectant filled my nostrils, and I felt as if I were suffocating. The student next to me sensed something was wrong and held my arm. "Are you okay?" Caleb dropped Stella and strode towards me. I had never seen such a panicked expression on his face. In our relationship, I was always the careful one, the one who accommodated and compromised. Caleb, I heard my own wooden voice. What are you doing here? Why are you going to the abortion clinic? Ivy, he reached out, and just as he was about to touch me, I took a sharp step back. What else could we be doing? Making up for a mistake. Of course. Stella slowly walked over to me and smiled. I'm so sorry, Ivy, the man you haven't even tried yet. I got to taste him first, and he's not bad. We got carried away, forgot about protection, so here we are. In that moment, 1,000 fragmented images flashed through my mind. The white roses on May 20th, the closed flower shop in the rain, the sparkling diamond necklace around her neck. That evening, when I came home with the roses and found the room hot and humid, her silk dress was wrinkled, his hair was a mess, and his lip was bleeding. I hadn't noticed a thing, not a single thing. A wave of intense nausea rose in my throat, and I bent over, retching. Caleb tried to help me, but I managed to choke out, in a hoarse, hate-filled voice, "Don't touch me." I hadn't eaten anything that morning, so there was nothing to throw up. Everything was spinning. It was like that night years ago, when he was sitting by the entrance, his shadow cast by the moonlight. The student next to me seemed to understand. She held me steady and said in a low voice, "Let me take you home." I shook my head and slowly straightened up. Something inside me surged and then dissipated like foam on the ocean. I was crying, but I was calm. I said to him, "We've known each other for 9 years. I always hoped I could make you a little happier, to make you feel like there was something to look forward to in this world. Even if your parents didn't love you, I would. I was afraid of upsetting you, so I would often deal with my own problems silently. You didn't buy me flowers, but I thought, maybe you just weren't romantic. It's okay, I can buy them for you. But it turns out you know everything." His face was ashen. He said nothing, just looked at me silently. It was as if that fragile, charming facade had been stripped away. The man I saw was no longer the boy who had found light in the darkness. Without the filter of my love, he was just an ordinary person. We'd been through so much together, through the darkest times. I thought we would be inseparable for the rest of our lives. But now, I'm leaving you. I don't want you anymore, Caleb. With the last word, I turned and walked towards the elevator. He didn't follow. In fact, besides that one defeated Ivy, at the beginning, he hadn't said another word. But now, as I was leaving, he said softly behind me, "You said you would never leave me." I stopped and turned, a bitter smile on my lips. "And what right do you have to say that? The one I would never leave is the Caleb who held me under the streetlights, the one who changed his first choice university for me, the one who snuck out of school to buy me medicine for my cramps. But who are you?" "Oh, you're the father of the baby in Stella's belly." I gave him a little wave. "I hope we never see each other again." I packed my bags and flew home. My mother had been urging me to come back for a while, but I had told her his company was busy and we would be a few weeks late. So when she came home from work and saw me curled up on the sofa, she was shocked. "I thought you weren't coming back for another 2 weeks. Where's Caleb?" I tried to keep the sob out of my voice. "We broke up. I've always been a bit of a pushover." I had held back my tears in front of them at the hospital only to preserve my last shred of dignity. But now, under my mother's worried gaze, that forced composure crumbled. My parents knew how I had chased after him, how much I loved him. They hadn't approved at first. My father had said he had a complicated background and a dark personality, that we were complete opposites. "If you're with him, you'll be the one who gets hurt in the end." I wouldn't listen. I didn't believe it. I thought that by walking with him through his darkest times, I would at least mean something special to him. I thought I was saving him. In the end, it was just my own wishful thinking. After we started dating, he had come home with me a few times. He was naturally cold, but he was polite to my parents, and I was so obviously in love with him that they had relented. "As long as he treats you well, we won't say anything." But he didn't. I didn't tell my mother about him and Stella, just that we had broken up, and that he was too proud to try to win me back. But on the 3rd day, I got a call from him. I didn't know it was him at first. I had blocked all his numbers. He was using a new SIM card. Just as I was about to hang up, I heard his hoarse voice. "Don't hang up, I'm downstairs. You should be at the hospital with Stella." I said coldly, "She lost your child. After all, 9 years. This is the first time I've heard you speak to me in this tone." After a moment, his voice came through again, startlingly clear in the quiet room. "To be honest, it's refreshing. If you had gotten angry with me before, maybe I wouldn't have felt the need to escape for a bit, to catch my breath." I didn't understand. The man on the phone felt more and more like a stranger. So it's my fault that you and Stella were sneaking around behind my back. No, it's not your fault, it's been too long, he said. Ivy, we've known each other for too long. You're always so careful around me. I like you a lot, but with you like this, there are things I feel I can't say. As the studio grew, as our future became clearer, that feeling only got stronger. I almost laughed, but then the tears came. In 3 years of dating, I had never heard him say he liked me, and now, after we broke up, after I found out he had betrayed me, I finally heard it. Before, I had so desperately wanted him to express his feelings. Instead of me having to guess all the time, you wouldn't say anything to me, but you were willing to talk to her. You would never buy me flowers, but you easily gave her a bouquet of white roses on an important day. You knew everything, you just refused to do it for me. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice from shaking. To you, I was the one who came to you. I didn't need any promises or compromises from you. I would still chase after you unconditionally, so you didn't have to put in any effort. So the crystal necklace I couldn't afford became an expensive diamond one for her. The roses I never received, she got without doing a thing. That day, when I was squeezing through the crowded subway with 99 roses, they were in that apartment, the one he had rented so I could see the sunset, on that small sofa, lost in passion. Later, when I was cooking in the kitchen, they were kissing in the living room, and she had even provocatively bitten his lip hard enough to draw blood, confident I wouldn't notice. That social media post wasn't about the bag, was it? It was for me. How could I have been so stupid? How could I have been so stupid? There had been countless signs, but I had ignored them all, until that day in the hospital, when I was finally forced to face the bloody truth. Ivy, do you still mean what you said? He suddenly asked. You said that no matter what happened, you would hold my hand and never leave me. What right do you have to ask me that? I cut him off coldly. If I had known it would come to this, that day you were sitting by the door, I would have let you bleed to death. I wouldn't have given you a second glance. For the entire summer, every time I left the house, I would see his car parked downstairs. He would stand in front of it, holding a different bouquet of flowers each day. He wouldn't speak, just quietly offer them to me. I wouldn't take them. He would just smile slightly and throw them in the nearby trash can. Oh, you don't like this kind. I'll get a different one tomorrow. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. It's not that I don't like the flowers. I don't like you. His eyelashes fluttered, but he stood there as if he hadn't heard, watching me silently. After his mother passed away and I had helped him out of his depression, he was no longer the gloomy, taciturn boy he had once been. He had become poised and confident. Besides that one time I had joked about leaving him, I had never seen him lose his composure, but in that moment, he seemed to have reverted to the 14-year-old boy, sitting alone in the moonlight, abandoned by the world. I had approached him, tried to catch him, to save him, but it was no use. Stella came to see me yesterday. She admitted that she only got close to me because she was interested in you. I looked at him and smiled faintly. That night, the night you rushed back because I was crying, before you answered my call, she had already unbuttoned your shirt to the third button. Don't come looking for me anymore, Caleb. I admit I really did love you, but now, the thought of ever having kissed you just makes me sick. I don't want to have anything to do with you ever again. As the long summer was ending, he finally disappeared from my street, and I took the opportunity to go to the hospital for the test I had missed, and after confirming everything was fine, I returned to school. There were hardly any classes in our senior year. I threw myself into the job search and, after a busy 2 weeks, I got an offer I was happy with, and that's when he reappeared. He stood like a silent statue at the entrance of my dorm. Everyone in the college knew he was my boyfriend, so people started asking me about it. I went downstairs to find him. He looked up at me and smiled faintly. Ivy, are you insane? I asked. You were gone for 2 weeks. I thought you had given up. What are you doing now? Waiting for you. Maybe I'll wait until the day you change your mind, he said. Ivy, please, don't leave me. He was so calm when he said it. I was taken aback for a moment, sensing something was wrong. I stared into his eyes and realized that beneath the placid surface was a raging storm, an emotion so intense it threatened to swallow me whole. I instinctively took a step back. You're crazy. Maybe, he said, unconcerned. If being crazy will make you forgive me, then being crazy is fine. A rational, cold person going crazy is even more terrifying. To stay by my side, he had completely abandoned his studio. In the end, even Stella came to me. You should at least talk to him. That studio was his life for 3 years. Is he just going to throw it all away? I was expressionless. What's it to me? No matter what. You were with him for 3 years. I suddenly smiled. So you do know, we were together for 3 years. We had even planned our wedding. I even told you my deepest insecurities. But what you gave me in return was you sneaking around with my boyfriend behind my back. Is someone else's boyfriend really that desirable? Her face finally fell, her expression ugly, but she couldn't say a word. I went downstairs and stopped beside him. He looked up at me and said softly, Ivy, stop this pointless charade. Caleb. My expression was calm, my tone even. You know that even though I may seem weak, once I make a decision, I don't change it, just like back then, when everyone told me you were dangerous. But I liked you so much that I was willing to spend a significant part of my life trying to save you, and I have no regrets. Now, I have decided to leave you, and you know it. I'm leaving you, not just because of what happened at the hospital. You're smart, you must have sensed it, that rainy night, when I went to see you, full of hope, and I found you and Stella, and the inappropriate intimacy between you. I asked you for a bouquet of roses, and you didn't give it to me. From that moment, our relationship was heading towards its end. After that day, I never saw him again, but I would hear news of him. His studio had to pay a hefty sum for a delayed project and was eventually sold. The person who took it over was, coincidentally, Stella. Work was so busy that besides my graduation defense, I never went back to the university. Caleb and I had known each other for 10 years, been together for 3, and had been broken up for almost a year. Our social circles were ridiculously intertwined, but with almost no effort, I managed to avoid all news of him, because no one knew where he had gone. After graduation, I joined the company that had given me the offer. At work, I quickly realized that I was just an ordinary person with limited abilities, unable to change the world, let alone a person. That impulsive act at 14 had led me to him. I had tried so hard to save him, but in the end, I was nearly dragged into the abyss with him. I couldn't save him. In this world, no one is born to save anyone else. And so, that period of my life gradually became a distant dream. 3 years after graduation, I finally had my second relationship. His name was Nathan. He was gentle and considerate and always prepared little surprises for our dates, and he was never shy about expressing his love for me. Later, when I went to his home to meet his parents, I found out that he was the brother of the student who had accompanied me to the hospital. At 26, Nathan and I started planning our wedding. Everything was going smoothly, but on the eve of the wedding, I received a strange, anonymous letter. Following the address on the letter, I found myself in the countryside, far from the city, in a vast field of blooming roses. And there, amidst the flowers, a much thinner Caleb was looking at me, asking softly, if I give you a mountain of roses now, will you come back? I shook my head with a gentle smile, surprised at how calm I felt. The man I had once loved to the point of agony, seeing him now, my heart was still. So he had spent these past few years, in his disappearance, planting roses for me, but it was too late. The 20-year-old Ivy had needed roses to prove she was loved by the person she was so desperately chasing, but the me of today no longer needed them. The sun shone down brightly, the fragrance of the roses rolling through the fields. In the end, I could only show him the bouquet of lilies in my hands, which I had bought on my way here for my wedding. I said, I'm sorry, you and the roses are both too late.